Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Alan.
and you are officially tuned into the GG Dispatch each week on Tuesday, bright and early. We consolidate the week's biggest headlines in gaming news. Whether you're listening in on your commute, during your workout, or you just have us on in the background, we want to thank you for listening in. And speaking of thanks, another thank you to the kind folks at Audio Technica for providing the microphone that Alan uses, the AT 2020 USB X. Whether you're just starting out on your content creator journey or you're a seasoned pro, Audio Technica has the products for you. Um, well, how I mean, I'm gonna ask you how things have been. I know how things have been on mine. They've been kind of crazy. Work's been kind of crazy. Um, Life's been kind of crazy, which is why I'm glad I discovered the game that I discovered. I'll chat about it a little bit in a second. But um, I know that you're generally more into like sports and stuff than I am. So what have you been following the Olympics? Like, I guess the ceremony's ended, right?
Yeah. So the closing ceremony was yesterday, which is a fun ceremony. Tom Cruise doing Tom Cruise things, and they basically had like at the end of every Olympics, they kind of have a segment of the closing ceremony that's kind of like, oh, well, this city is handing it off to like the next city, and the next city is Los Angeles, California. So they had like a
Yeah.
lot of really cool, like a cool intro video of Tom Cruise again doing Tom Cruise things. So that was fun, and yeah, I've enjoyed the Olympics a lot this year. I think it was a really smart move on NBC's part and the competitors. Like they were really active on social media. So yeah, like a much better, I guess, like on the ground view of just how things work there and how they spend their time, and just the overall experience of being at the Olympics that you just haven't had before. I
Yeah.
also think it was a really good job of NBC to put stuff up like on YouTube fairly quickly. I know that sometimes they would delay a little bit because they have like a kind of like a special edited segments at night that they kind of put for people who can't watch live because typically it's in the morning because of the time difference.
Right.
I like to watch like live as much as I can, but again, I still think they did a really good job of putting up those clips and like people were a lot of streamers were able to like kind of watch them and comment on them and like they didn't seem to be a big problem about DMCA takedowns. So yeah, I really enjoyed the Olympics. It was a lot of fun. Some of my favorite stuff were the U.S. women's soccer team and the USA men's basketball team. That was and the women's basketball team did really well too. So those are my three sort of favorite events there.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was definitely a lot of meme worthiness, right, that came out of the Olympics.
Oh,
With
so many memes.
so many memes, so much crazy stuff going on, and it's interesting that you mentioned like the competitors all being very active on social media because I agree. I think, and obviously Twitter's been around through numerous Olympics at this point, but I do feel like this time around there was a higher spike than usual of the sort of like memes and like general discourse online about various things, and so that's cool that it kind of brought the Olympics to more people because I feel like there's definitely folks who follow it pretty regularly whenever they come around, and then there are other folks who kind of like with the World Cup, they're like, oh, okay, like there's big soccer games going on, but they're not necessarily invested. But this kind of brought more of that to a broader audience, I feel like, and that made them more interested and curious, like, oh, I wonder, what is archery all about, like when that video of the Korean archer kind of like went viral, or the shooter from Turkey and like all that other stuff. So that was really cool. Yeah. um do you prefer Winter Olympics or summer?
I think I enjoy the Summer Olympics more, but I like watching both. I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna watch one and skip the other. I like watching both, but like just a lot of the sports speak to me a little bit more on the summer side, like the track
Yeah.
and field, the swimming, and of course like the football. I mean the soccer,
Yeah.
and basketball as well.
Cool. Cool. um Awesome. Well, I wasn't caught up with Olympics stuff, but I definitely caught a lot of it online, like I was talking about. What I did do, or what I did discover and spend some time with over the last week, was Fields of Mystria. And so I think folks, if they're online and they're kind of in this Stardew Valley sort of cozy content realm, chances are they've seen Fields of Mystria. It went into early access last week. I think this time last week, actually, or on Monday of last week on the 5th. Um, And I picked it up and started poking around at it, and certainly has a lot of similarities to Stardew Valley. I think it's sort of hard to run away from it. I mean, any game that has the farming sim, that has the fishing, the building, the general structure, it's all going to look and feel very similar in many of those ways, but it definitely makes itself distinct in kind of its aesthetic and as well as its writing. I think it has very clever writing. I like all the characters a lot, and then there's also the incorporation of magic as well. So you can use spells to make your crops grow faster, and do various things. Of course, there are mines to explore and characters to romance and all that good stuff. And yeah, I've been having a blast with it. I put up my review for the early impression, so you can find that on the geeklyGrind.com. Um, but I've been having a great time with it. It's an excellent retreat from the demands and the pressures of day to day life, as well as other like more intense games. So like I spent some time with my buddies in Helldivers 2 last week. And after that was over and we almost died on like a level 9 mission or something, and we were just like clinging to dear life, I just kind of retreated into fields of Mystria and just watered my plants and just chilled out. So that was nice.
And
Uh
it's
yeah.
Fields of Mystria. Is it coming to? Have you been able to play that on Steam Deck, or it's not there yet? Or because I know
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
early
it's on Steam
access.
Deck.
So
It's on Steam Deck, and it plays very well on the Steam Deck, I gotta say. I have it docked on my TV, so I've been playing it through my TV, but it also plays very well handheld too. So um and I also, oh yeah, that's right. I also ordered an Xbox. I don't think I had ordered it last week.
nice.
So I've got an Xbox Series S incoming. Um, I know as soon as I told you, you were like, oh, but there's always deals around Black Friday, but I'm impatient. So
Yeah, but you know me, man. It's like I got deals in the veins, and I'm just like, but Black Friday is right around
yeah,
the
you could get
corner.
it for like 175 or something. I don't know. But anyways, I got a decent deal on it. I got a refurbished copy, a refurbished version online. It comes with a 2-year warranty. Um, and it was like 225, like free shipping. So and it was 512, just basic model. And yeah, I'm gonna put my Game Pass to good use. I was going to try it out on the Steam Deck, but I think it doesn't really have, all you can do really is stream from like the Xbox Game Pass services, and so there is some like natural kind of deprecation in the quality that happens when you do that. So I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to make the most out of my subscription. I have Game Pass Ultimate for another like a year and a half that I've already paid for, um, and I want access to that library of games, and so I took the plunge. So for the first time, I think since the console wars began, I own all 3 consoles from the big 3 and a Steam Deck. So,
Nice.
yeah, I now have all of the Infinity Stones, aka all the consoles. Um, so yeah, I'll let you all know how I'm enjoying it next week. I mean, it's not going to be anything earth-shattering, I'm sure, but I'll share my experience with the my first week with my Xbox next week.
And for Fields of Mystery, because it is an early access, I don't think like their content is fully like fleshed out. Do you feel like you've like kind of played everything that there is to do that's like available for now,
No,
or
no, no. There, I mean, I've definitely started like farming and stuff, but there's definitely a ton in their current early access, and they have actually a pretty good roadmap as well. If you go to their early access page, they lay out fairly clearly. Okay, here's what we're going to expand in Q4, and here's what that means, and here's what we plan to expand on in the coming year, and this is what that means. And they don't have, for example, a final price in mind for like the 1.0 version, and I'm sure there are things that they're holding onto for the 1.0 version. um, but I would imagine, as is, the game has probably got dozens of hours of play just in early access alone, um, let alone if once the expansions start coming in Q4 and stuff like that. So uh if this is your life, like if you just make Fields of Mystery your life and it's like all you do, you might you might run out of stuff in in about a month, right? Like a month and a half if you were just like you hammering it, like doing it all the time. But if you're playing it kind of like me, where it's sort of just like a casual sort of retreat for uh, you know, 3 to 5 hours a week or something like that, you're gonna have plenty to do for a long time. So uh yeah, plenty of content.
So you feel it's worth jumping in at 13.99, like for anyone who's
Oh,
listening and
100%.
is interested in the like Stardew Valley type game.
100%. Yes. If for no other reason than to be part of the conversation too. I mean, there again, there's a lot of chatter from various content creators who are in the space and indie devs about about the game in general. So if you're like, hey, this looks kind of interesting and it's sort of my vibe, then go for it. If you enjoy Stardew Valley and those kinds of games, absolutely, it's worth 13.99. And yeah, so I would say go for it. And I think, however, I know that Stardew Valley often goes on sale. So the only asterisk or caveat I would say is that if you are interested in this kind of game and you have not played this genre before, you can probably get Stardew Valley for less than Fields of Mystria, like when there's if there's like a sale or something. And I would actually say like go and check that one out. But if you've already played some Stardew Valley and you want something a little bit new, like a little bit of a twist on it, or you feel like kind of tuckered out on Stardew Valley, give Fields of Mystria a try. Very cool NPCs, cool art style, some different mechanics and dynamics that you'll enjoy. So yeah. All right. Well, enough about all that chitter chatter. We got 4 stories on the docket today, starting with how deep does the trouble at Bungie go? Um, Bungie's marathon reaction, quote, isn't great, end quote. It's claimed. This is from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming. The views around Bungie's upcoming extraction shooter, Marathon, don't appear to be all that good. In an appearance on the Friends Per Second podcast, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier was asked for a temperature check on the state of the game, and his response, as well as you could have expected after the past 2 weeks, wasn't all that positive. Not great from what I've heard, he said. There's a reason that it was planned for this year and slipped a whole year. People who I've talked to are a little pessimistic about it, even hitting its current planned deadline, but we'll see. Schreier added that he doesn't know exactly when the current deadline for the game is, but it's believed to be sometime in 2025. I mean, the sentiment I've heard is it's not great around at least as of a few months ago, he said. The development of the Marathon reboot has been shaky at best over the past couple of years. The game had a specific gameplay loop that included customizable characters only to change to having a cast of heroes to choose from instead. On top of that, Christopher Barrett, who is Marathon's game director, was replaced earlier this year by former Valorant game director Joe Ziegler. The game even lost its executive producer not long ago as well. So trouble in little Bungie Town. Um, Alan, how do you think this fares for the already tumultuous seas over at Bungie?
So I know like last week I made a pretty like a bit of a hyperbolic statement of like, yeah, like I can see Bungie getting shut down in a week or so, and then you were like, there's no way they're gonna do that. But like I was kind of sort of on the right path. 'Cause, I mean, this is bad. Like Marathon is supposed to be the thing that Bungie was relying on to kind of help balance out where they were getting their revenue from.
Right.
And now that Destiny 2 is kind of like it's done, right? It's there for the people who like it, but the chances of them being able to kind of, grow that game or to continue pushing it is highly doubtful. And with all the staff reduction that we've seen, like those key losses that you said they've had, and just the general impressions, like, if Marathon was now becoming kind of the thing that they need to hit in order to keep going. So
Yeah.
to see it struggling this much is really bad. And again, like going back to my prior comments from the last podcast, it's like they could definitely be on the chopping block in a year from now. Like if they're struggling along, and again, like think of the morale at that team. Like they must be down pretty bad, and so all of a sudden it's pressure time. There's less people there now to work on it. Like if you're already struggling to kind of make it work with the staff that you had, with the reduction that you've seen, it's going to get even worse.
Yeah.
So, like, it's tough seeing them kind of get out of this spiral. And, who knows? Maybe at the end of this year, Sony goes to give it a quick check of, like, how's it going? And it could be that in February, March, if they don't see a turnaround, like, why not just cancel the whole thing and just close that studio? Because, they've seen now how much difficulty they're having with Concord, and that was from, a studio that you don't hear any issues from, right? Like, it's a healthy studio working on this new game, and, like, it looks like that might just come out and be a complete dud. So I don't
Yeah.
think they'd want to release another dud. They don't want that tarnishing the Sony brand. So yeah, I think they're in big trouble right now.
Yeah. It's tough because, obviously not, yeah, Naughty Dog had canceled the Last of Us shooter, right? But I feel like Naughty Dog was in a better position to do that because I know people joke about it, but they released the remasters and like do the other things to kind of like get these little like inflows of cash as they were trying to work on this next project. And after doing some in-house testing, including running it by Bungie, which is at this point hilarious and also tragic. um and Bungie was the one that's like, no, that's no good. And that's the reason, part of the reason why they kind of canned it. And now it's like, cool, Bungie sort of directing whether or not Naughty Dog is releasing shooter games, and their shooter games are not doing well. Um, but that's beside the point. Uh, but anyways, I think Naughty Dog was able to kind of recover to say like, hey, yeah, we're not going to make this game. We're not going to make this this shooter game. We're going to instead shift and focus on our next first party single player experience, and they had the flexibility to do so. Um, Bungie, like we were talking about last week, they are in it so deep. Like Sony is in Bungie so deep in terms of the cost, in terms of like all of this stuff. And so, you know, I was, and I still am highly skeptical that there would be a shutdown anytime soon. But honestly, Marathon has to be a 9, like it has to be like a 92 Metacritic. You know what I mean? Like it has to hit hard, and it has to be able to like sustain. Like the roadmap has to be clear, the whatever, whether it's microtransactions, season passes, whatever combination of those various monetizing strategies they have. Like,
They need the Brinks trucks to show up when they
yeah,
release Marathon.
they need the trucks. Yeah, they need the trucks to show up for sure, because otherwise, like if it releases and it's like Starfield, no way, they're done. Like they cannot afford Marathon to land in the sevens, right? Not even the eights. Like I'm saying, like it needs to be like a strong ass game, like a video game ass video game. Like that's what they need to put out. Um, and if they fail to do that, that's when I think it would absolutely make sense that Sony's like, well, guess we got ourselves a tax write-off. You know what I mean? Like that's that's sort of I think where they head. I don't think it's going to happen soon though. I think Sony absolutely will continue to invest in trying to get Marathon on the right track with Bungie, because they're too deep in it to redirect. It's not like Naughty Dog, right? Like I don't think it's the same situation. I think they need to see Marathon through to release. They just need to make sure they're making Marathon as good as it can be before we get to release. And if it doesn't land, then absolutely, I would not be surprised if Bungie shuts down after that.
Okay, so Jeremy, do you think that when Sony goes to check up on Bungie, which I'm sure they will after everything that's happened,
Right.
say in February or March of 2025, and they see that Marathon isn't shaping up the way they thought it would or the way that Bungie said it would, can Bungie survive Marathon being canceled and continue on as a studio?
No, I don't think so. I think well, first, I think that Sony is staying a lot closer to Marathon than going and checking it on it in February or March. I think they're probably actively checking on it like every other week or at least every month. They're probably checking in with Bungie on the progress because they understand, especially with all of the press and the news that Bungie has gotten over the last couple of weeks that yes, all eyes are on Marathon and its success or lack thereof, right? So I think Sony's staying very close to it. I do not see a path where Sony says, okay, we're going to cancel Marathon, but we're going to keep Bungie and we're going to start them on a brand new project. I just don't see it. I think that they are much deeper into Marathon than Naughty Dog was with their shooter. So they don't necessarily have the same flexibility. Um, and I think Sony in general maybe doesn't, at this point, doesn't trust Bungie to be able to come up with a winning game or winning IP if they just said scrap Marathon entirely and start something new. I don't know if there is a timeline that works to help, basically pay for the cost that Sony has already incurred for Bungie. I think it would be, for Sony more strategic at that point if they cannot deliver on Marathon to sell or just take the loss. But I don't think Bungie continues at the studio if they can't make Marathon work.
Do you think that they're do you think that Bungie is going to be able to pull this out, or are you like on my
I
side?
mean,
It's like they're going down.
the last shape was critically well received, right? I think again the trick will be with Marathon, how do they monetize and how do they grow the tent, right? Or how do they grow the umbrella? Like how do they bring in players that wouldn't play Destiny to play Marathon? Because that's ultimately what they need to do. If they brought everybody over from Destiny into Marathon, it wouldn't be enough, right? Last Shape showed us that because I think it was successful. Destiny players were excited about it, but they didn't spend enough on the microtransactions, or it just didn't do well enough as an expansion to, you know, help them get out of out of the red. So I think it really does come down to how do they monetize and how do they expand the player base for Marathon in order to make it truly successful. So, um, yeah, it's not. I agree, it's not looking good for Bungie. But I mean, you know, uh, Blizzard has been in pretty dire straits as well. Diablo 2, not Diablo 2. The original like Diablo 3 launch was sort of a mess. And then they kind of pulled it out after that. Um, and there have definitely been major studios that have had kind of low lows and then were able to turn it around. The question is, you know, they're not, they're not No Man's Sky games, right? Or Hello Games, right? They're not. It's not a small enough studio where they can kind of like stumble and then like kind of recoup it later on. Um, that's what makes me the most nervous. I think is if they can't make Marathon work, I don't know if they will get another chance. So
Okay, and also I do wonder like how many, because they lost a lot of people. So how many of those people were a big part of making, Destiny as successful as it was, especially towards the end.
yeah,
So we'll see.
yeah, for sure. Um, on brighter topics, Tango Gameworks taken over and revived by PUBG publisher Krafton with plans to expand the Hi-Fi Rush IP. So
Yay!
exciting. Yay! This is from Automaton Media. This is from Amber V over at Automaton. Uh, After abruptly closing its doors in May this year to the shock of fans and fellow developers, Japanese game studio Tango Gameworks is set to resume its activities under Krafton. The South Korean publisher announced on August 12th that it has taken over Tango Gameworks and welcomed its employees with the cooperation of Microsoft and ZeniMax Media. Krafton also has plans for the Hi-Fi Rush IP, which it has acquired rights to. Founded by Resident Evil director Shinji Mikami in 2010, Tango Gameworks quickly went on to be acquired by ZeniMax Media, the owner of Bethesda Softworks. From there, the studio developed the Evil Within series, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the universally acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush. In the meantime, the developer became a part of Microsoft, which acquired ZeniMax Media in 2021. 2 years later, Shinji Mikami left Tango Gameworks, and in May 2024, it was suddenly announced that Tango Gameworks would be closing. Xbox executive Matt Booty called the closure a forward thinking decision and hinted that it had to do with the studio remaining without a leader. However, fans and developers from around the world were not convinced, criticizing Microsoft harshly for unfairly killing a prospective studio. But now, 2 months after Tango's closure, Krafton has stepped in to take over, and it seems Microsoft has cooperated in the integration process and pledged to support the studio's staff in resuming their work at the new company. Krafton already owns several development studios, including PUBG Studios, Bluehole Studio, Unknown Worlds, and Striking Distance Studios, and has produced titles such as PUBG Battlegrounds, New State Mobile, Terra, and the Callisto Protocol. In the announcement, Krafton emphasizes that this is their first major investment in the Japanese game market and an important part of their global strategy. The decision to bring Tango Gameworks on board was apparently driven by Krafton's assessment of the studio's originality and game making skills. In taking over the business, Krafton also took over the rights to the Hi Fi Rush IP from Microsoft, which it plans to expand through future projects. However, these organizational changes are not expected to bring any changes to the existing Hi Fi Rush, Evil Within, or Ghostwire Tokyo, which are part of Microsoft's catalog. So, yeah, some good news in the gaming industry. Don't get a ton of that these days.
Finally.
Finally, it's great. It's a breath of fresh air. This was all over my feed as soon as it hit. Which bad news spreads very quickly. It's good to see when good news spreads just as quickly. And yeah, I mean, I'm stoked honestly to see this. I know that we discussed kind of the tragedy of Tango closing following the success of Hi-Fi Rush and the very unique game that it was in the powerhouse year that was 2023, right? The fact that a game like that was still able to kind of carve out its own personality and its own space in 2023 was incredibly impressive, and acquiring such a high Metacritic score and everything else. It was just all around great fun. And then for Microsoft to be like, just kidding, closing it down. Obviously, we were devastated by that. So to see another publisher, especially a publisher like Krafton, come in and pick up the studio, that's awesome. Um, and yeah, I think it's perfect because it's a great way for them to kind of expand their offerings of games without necessarily having to take on all the risk, right? Of kind of like starting a studio up from scratch or just, you know, trying to develop their own game like Hi-Fi Rush from the beginning.
I'm really happy that Krafton stepped up to the plate and saved the studio because it was worth saving. I know that Shinji Mikami, he's a great game dev, and he left, but he didn't single-handedly make every game. That studio has talent there, has talent that has shown that it's capable of producing really good games. Like the Evil Within series is really fun. Obviously, Hi-Fi Rush. I'm glad that somebody picked them up. And the only thing was I didn't expect like Krafton to do it. Uh, but I'm happy that they did it. I'm happy somebody did it. We need, you know, fresh ideas as companies rely more and more on kind of sequels and more safer stuff. So it's good to see.
Yeah, for sure. Again, really great to see some good news in the industry this year. We definitely need more of it. Um, All right. We also had this past weekend was D23, and there was some more information on Disney in Fortnite. So, Fortnite is to get Disney villains, Incredibles characters, and a season with Doctor Doom. Marvel and Star Wars content drops next week. This is from Michael Kripe at IGN. Epic Games is working with Disney to bring some of its iconic villains, as well as a host of new Pixar, Star Wars, and Marvel characters to Fortnite. The latest Fortnite collaboration was revealed at the Disney Experiences Showcase at D23 2024. The latest crossover starts next week with Mandalorian characters like Grogu set to show up on August 12th. Then, Fortnite's next season will usher in the Age of Doctor Doom with Chapter 5, Season 4, Absolute Doom, bringing more Marvel themed skins and items for players to toy with on August 16th. You can see they show a trailer off in the article as well. Doctor Doom is the latest Marvel centerpiece to worm its way into Fortnite, but Victor Von Doom isn't the only superpowered character to show up in the trailer. X-Men like Cable, Cyclops, Rogue, Jubilee, and Colossus have cameos too, as does Spider-Man villain Mysterio. Some cosmetics and weapons based on characters like Sabretooth, Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Panther can also be seen in the footage, making it clear that Marvel's relationship with Fortnite still has a lot of life left in it. Disney took the opportunity at its latest D23 showcase to prove that it's all in on Fortnite in more ways than one. This fall, fans can look forward to appearances from a selection of iconic Disney villains like Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, and Captain Hook. Pixar characters are on the way too, specifically Disney's superhero family, The Incredibles, will show up in game, with players able to enjoy content based on heroes like Mr. and Mrs. Incredible and Frozen. These announcements follow news that Disney acquired a $1.5 billion stake in Fortnite developer Epic Games in March. At the time, the company stated a desire to bolster its relationship with the studio and make a more significant investment in the game space in general. A laundry list of Fortnite character additions is surely only the beginning of what the partnership will bring. While we wait to see how the two companies will grow together, be sure to read up on some of the other announcements from tonight's Disney Experiences showcase, which includes new attractions based on Avatar and the Avengers. Um, More Fortnite stuff. Again, this is sort of a space that's not my cup of tea. But I don't know, Alan. Does this excite you?
I'm 100% hyped for this.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Cool.
love having more, more fun skins, more fun things coming into the game. I don't necessarily like love every skin that got introduced, but I'm still happy that they're there. It's gonna be something for everyone. I know that Disney and Fortnite signed like a pretty deep collaboration deal like a couple of months back, or maybe even a year back. So this is
Mm,
kind of like the fruits of that. And I think ultimately, what I would like to see, what I would think would be the funnest thing, would be if they integrated Disney parks, the theme parks, like into like the Fortnite map that you drop into, and like they could make a section of the map be the Magic Kingdom for a bit, then they could switch over to Epcot, Animal Kingdom, or they could basically make each theme park itself be like a map that you can go into. And I think there's a space within Fortnite where they can create different experiences. Like I know that obviously not every parent wants their you know kid playing a game where you're shooting people with guns, which is the main thing that you do in Fortnite. So I think that a more family friendly for all ages type of thing would be interesting, and they could make something really fun for kids, younger kids, to really enjoy within Fortnite. That again just has less violence in it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll see. That's what I think the ultimate like scenario of this collaboration could be.
Yeah. For sure. Um, all right. And then the last story, Gearbox CEO speaks on Borderlands movie bomb. Um, the Borderlands movie is out in theaters and it's bombing pretty hard. And not just with critics, audiences aren't showing up either, as the movie made a paltry $16 million worldwide in its opening weekend. By comparison, Deadpool and Wolverine made $96 million just in the US on its opening day alone. But Borderlands game developer Gearbox seems to be taking it in stride. CEO Randy Pitchford is possibly teasing a fourth game and thanked fans for sticking with the game franchise. And speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie is not only MCU's flick of the year, it's their biggest since 2021 and crossed $1 billion worldwide this past weekend. Um, but yeah, so I don't know if folks have been kind of keeping up with the Borderlands movie in general, but the reviews are absolutely terrible. I think it literally opened with a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think since then it's climbed up a little bit into like maybe the low teens. Um, and yeah, it. I think the overall budget for it with marketing was like 150 million, and it's only made 16. That's terrible.
Tough time for
Like
Randy. For
I,
Randy Pitchford, tough
I,
time. Cause like
I know.
the funny part is that like I think it was in 21 or 22. It was during the filming of the movie. I think it was Randy Pitchford. Kind of gave everyone like, oh, here's a behind the scenes. Look, isn't this so cool that we're making a movie? And he's like super cringy going around and talking to the actors and like knocking on Kevin Hart's door, and he comes out, he's kind of like, hey, what's up, man? Kind of like, yeah, I guess you did the game, so I gotta talk to you now. So like it was bad vibe from the start. Not at all a shock to me that this movie just sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because as more people have watched it, like there's definitely an angle of the discourse that's like, well, Borderlands movies are wild and zany and kind of stupid and crazy, right? But um, the fact that like it didn't find purchase with the audience so much so that it's just getting universally panned and also not doing well in the theaters. Like this isn't even like, oh, it didn't do well in the theaters, but then later can become a cult hit, which is hard to do now anyways because streaming basically killed that model. Um, it's just bad. It's not even so bad. It's good. It's just bad. So
How soon do we
too
see
bad.
this hit streaming now? Next
Oh
week?
gosh. Yeah, yeah. Like I would be yeah, I'm my money's on let's see, it's the 12th, the 23rd. I bet Friday the 23rd or Saturday the 24th, Borderlands hits streaming. Because I don't they're not gonna keep it in theaters much longer, and maybe they'll see if they can pick up some rentals or purchases or something online and try and get some money that way. I don't know. So yeah, too bad. Sorry, Randy. Sorry, Borderlands team. Uh, maybe next time. All right. So those are our main stories. Alan, we got a pretty cool deal to spotlight. What's going on?
Yeah, so right now Best Buy is running like their, I think it's 10 days of $10 deals.
Hmm.
They started over the weekend. And so they've had a couple of different games. It's a bit of an eclectic mix of what they choose. The first one I think was Sonic Generations for $10. Then they had Skull and Bones for $10, and then uh yesterday they had or into today, sorry, starting this morning they had it's like a series called Fitness Boxing on Switch, and they kind of has a bunch of different characters just as a way to like it's kind of like a an exercising theme really. But the one that was on sale today was Fist of the North Star, which is like a really like super niche anime. So keep an eye on Best Buy. Like they don't get a big game every day, but they usually do have something for someone there. So just keep an eye out. You never know when they will drop, like a really popular game to $10. So just keep an eye an eye on Best Buy.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds like a good deal. I'm keeping an eye on it to see if anything that I don't already have I do like to pick up for $10 pops up. So, um, and with that, that does for our episode today. Thanks for listening. As always, if you enjoy our content, enjoy listening to us chatter at each other about games and stuff like that, leave us a positive review, like and share on social media, all that good stuff. And we appreciate you listening in always. So until next time, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Alan.
Keep gaming, everybody.
See ya.